Hello. I got a lot of positive feedback from the last boss ranking video, so today I figured we'd do another like that. We are ranking all 24 wearable masks in Zelda Majora's Mask. These will be scored based once again on 3 major categories, starting with the mask's design, its usefulness, and the lore surrounding it. Of course, this is my personal list, and I'm sure all of yours will be different. This is gonna be controversial, so let's go. In last place, and by far my least favorite mask, the Giant's Mask. The design of this mask is lacking. It looks like a discount moai without any of the charm. It's a bland, rock-looking mask with no real pizzazz. It is one of the transformation masks, but the design of Link doesn't really change that much. Disappointing, but it only gets worse. Its usefulness is truly debatable, as it's only used for one fight in the entire game. Twin Mold. In no other arena can you use it. However, I find honestly using arrows to be far safer and effective than using the Giant's Mask in this fight, meaning there is literally no point in picking up this mask. Terrible. It's just terrible. The lore is hot garbage. There is no reason why a mask that makes you large should even be part of the Stone Temple. It makes no sense. In fact, no part of Ikana remotely matches this design anyway. It seems like it was just randomly placed before the boss fight to introduce a new gimmick. Too bad that boss is one of the worst bosses in the game. Anyway, moving on. 23, Kamaro's Mask. This design looks like someone had 5 minutes with a puppet, chopped it up and said, meh, good enough. It's the literal head and neck of just some random dude stuck to Link's forehead. It looks completely ridiculous and out of place. I honestly hate it. It's only slightly useful in that it allows Link to dance at will, which is good to let out some energy now and again. But this is only good for netting 1 heart piece. Nothing really more. The lore is slightly more interesting, however. Being the dancing master who passed away, Link must soothe his spirit's soul in order to get this mask. We find 2 dancers trying to find moves for the festival in 3 days, but they're struggling. Of course, this mask holds the secret dance move they require, so there's at least some lore. Right on, master. In 22nd place, we have the Mask of Sense. It pains me to put this one so far down low because I genuinely like the design. Of course, aside from this entire row of masks being related to Star Fox characters, and this one being based on Pigma Dengar, it's just a solid design. I love the nose, the eyes, it's just cool looking. And though it's not a transformation mask, it does make Link do this. And all the sounds are replaced by oinks. Very cool. However, it's pretty useless. It can be used to help find mushrooms, which can be traded to the hag for potions, but that's not very handy as better options like fairies and Chateau Romani exist. The lore around it is also kinda lacking. You get this mask from the butler after completing his race and saving the swamp. The mask has nothing to do with the Dekus or anything else related to the swamp aside from detecting mushrooms. It is interesting that the butler says that his son wore this mask, but there is more lore tied to another mask that we'll see later on. Cool design, but that's it. Next up, Don Giro's mask. The way this mask shapes around Link's head is unique. Overall, solid. The mask only has one use, and that is to speak with frogs who eventually net you a heart piece. Aside from that, it's a one-trick pony. The lore is where it gets interesting, and that you have to traverse all of Termina to find his choir mates. Some of the frogs are chill, but others are large and in charge and require a battle before you can speak to them. It's a pretty fun side quest, but there isn't too much meat on this bone. Ribbit. Here might be a controversial one, and I know I'm gonna get slack for this, but next up, we have the Couple's Mask. The biggest issue is that it looks so bland. I can't even tell you what this is, and I have no clue how Link is even using this thing to see. Where are the eye holes? It's just white slashes. A terribly dull design. It's only used to grab 1 heart piece and settle down the mayor's room, but the lore and the story around this mask is what's truly spectacular, and it's a shame that it has to rank so low. The Anjun Cafe quest is perhaps one of the most intricate and heartbreaking quests in all of gaming, and it results in 2 star-crossed lovers doing everything they can to be reunited for just an hour, 1 hour, as the moon crashes down and destroys everything. Great lore, but the mask is a bore. Moving on. Something more cheery, we have the Postman's hat rounding out the 19th spot. I'm a big fan of this design. One of the few pure hats on this list makes it refreshing. It looks great on Link and even sports the legendary bunny symbol on top, which is a call out to another mask. It can be used to check mailboxes, which can net you a rupee or a heart piece, but the lore is where this one stands out. Being the hat which embodies the notion of hard work and dedication, the Postman wore this with pride as he delivered letters despite a giant moon about to crash down. When you free the Postman from his obligation, he is filled with glee and he is finally able to follow his heart, not his head. I love how he runs away so happily before the end. It truly embodies the nature of freedom and speed. In 18th position, we have the All Knight's mask. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of this design. It looks bland, especially for something so expensive. And its design, well, it doesn't quite match the description, which we'll get to in a moment. But where it lacks in this category, it more than makes up for in usefulness and lore. You can use it to speak to Granny and stay awake in either of her two stories, netting you 2 whole heart pieces. Being able to stay awake and listen truly adds to the world building of the game as you learn about the imp, the giants, and the festival. Normally, Link would fall asleep through these stories. In the description of the mask, it states that it prevents the wearer from falling asleep and was used as a torture device. Creepy. I wonder how it works. Anyway, next up, Captain's hat. This one looks a little odd to me. I know it's a hat, but Link is just wearing a mangled skull on his head. It's pretty brutal. You can use this mask to get access to various graves, which yield heart pieces, a bottle, and a song. Being able to talk to the Style Children is pretty awesome, and it fits with the lore of this mask as it was being guarded by the captain of the Style Children, Kita. In his life, he was the leader of the Great Ikana army before its mysterious downfall. I like how he led them both in life and in death. Oh, it's also one of the masks which makes these boys dance. Oh yeah. Moving on to something lighter again, we have the Bremen mask. Another great design. The falcon wings protruding from either side just look stellar. The fact that it's one of the few masks which replace your B button with another action is cool, and I love the way he looks when he marches, which is its only real use. You can march and make animals follow you in a line. This nets us another animal-based mask, the bunny hood, but can also be used to make the Ikana soldiers march in a line behind us. Very cool. I love how we're given this mask by a musical troupe member who said that he had belonged to an animal troupe long ago. Apparently, he stole this mask out of jealousy from the leader and left. The mask is said to be able to make anyone follow their footsteps. The fact that it can hatch these young chicks and chickens is telling of how powerful it is. A good all-around mask. But let's continue. In 15th place, we have the Mask of Truth. Though I don't know where the eye slots are, I don't care, because this mask looks the part. You can feel the influence of the tribes of the Sheikah here. This tribe is a secretive organization that spans from ancient times, charged with the goal of protecting and guiding the descendants of the goddess Hylia herself. Though we don't see Impa or Zelda in this game, it's nice to see the mask here. The uses are rather limited as it only serves to learn lore from other gossip stones, which, don't get me wrong, is awesome. Its other use is to find the winning dog of the doggy racetrack, which can net us a piece of heart. So there's at least that. The lore surrounding this is odd though. Like I said, in the land of Termina, it's questionable as to why this mask exists in the first place. In fact, it only raises more questions than answers, especially with the prevalence of the Sheikah stones. You get this mask by helping break a Skulltula curse, but that doesn't explain much. Was Hylia and the Sheikah somehow in Termina at some point? How? And when? I feel like there is much to uncover here, but we're getting away from ourselves. We'll save that for another time. But for now, taking the 14th spot, we have the Great Fairy Mask. The design here is, well, kind of a mixed bag. Creepy, but cool. Something about this mask of makeup fairiness always kind of made me feel uncomfortable, but there's no denying how cool it looks when it sparkles. Which leads me to its primary use. The fact that it can lead Link to find all 15 fairies in each dungeon is incredibly beneficial. Though it's not technically required, it's nearly indispensable when collecting these guys. When you net all 15 fairies in a dungeon, you snag a juicy reward, and they're legit great gifts, ranging from double defense to a giant great fairy sword. Awesome. The lore is just so-so though. Skull Kid apparently shattered the great fairies throughout the land of Termina and scattered them into pieces within each dungeon, which is actually brutal. The mask serves as a magnet as you try to reform them together. A great tool when you're tackling these dungeons. Chugging right along, we have the Keaton mask next. I love how simple this mask is. It's a great take on a fox and just looks really neat. It's spiritual, subtle, and when on cafe, looks even cooler. However, its uses are rather limited. You can use it to summon Keaton foxes or Kitsune, who will challenge you with the 30 questions of the lore of Majora's Mask. It's a great way to pick up some useless knowledge and snap up a heart piece. The lore surrounding is great too. It can summon the Keaton fox based on the Japanese mythological creature, the Kitsune. These foxes have varying amounts of tails ranking all the way up to the legendary nine-tailed fox. This mask represents love and friendship as well, as we learn it was given to Cafe from his friend at the Curiosity Shop when they were children. Years later, he still has the mask and uses it to prove to his old friend that he was cursed to turn younger by the Skull Kid. A touching story. Love it. Halfway there, and if you stuck around this long, then you probably like what you're seeing, so please like and subscribe. Continuing on, and related to the Keaton mask is Cafe's mask, or is it pronounced Coffee's mask? You guys decide. Being a mask shaped to look like Cafe is pretty cool, not to mention they totally nailed his hairstyle. Being the same height as Link cements this mask in any Cafe cosplay. It's used to ask townspeople about Cafe in order to commence the Anjou Cafe quest. Due to the variety of rewards given from this quest line, it's actually very useful, and it's also super useful for lore reasons too. Madame Aroma gives us this mask to try to find her missing son, but he's actually gone into hiding with his friend at the curiosity shop. The amount of lore and info you can learn by finding this mask and talking to people is amazing, as everyone in town has something to say. It's a great tool to dive deeper into this game's story. Superb. Next in 11th is Romani's mask. This is easily one of my favorite masks to wear. I don't know what it is. Probably because there's a giant cow on its head. It's just a great looking mask. And the notion of everyone being forced to wear this mask to get into the milk bar latte makes it all the better. I wish I had a bar with a cool member hat like this one. It's useful in that it grants you access to this bar, which is more important than you might think. It's essential to fulfilling Madame Aroma's and Postman's side quests, which interact directly into the Andrew and Cafe side quest. So there are plenty of good rewards to be had. It also allows you to obtain the Chateau Romani, a drink which grants you infinite magic power forever within the 3-day cycle. The lore surrounding this mask is also great. Aside from the various quests above, it comes itself from Cremia, as you aided in defending their farm from both the alien invaders and the ancient mask assailants. It's a symbol that you're an adult now and you have matured, and its bestowal upon you confers that you actually care about the people here, following their lives, helping solve their problems. You're connected to everyone here, and just like everyone's connected to the milk bar, as a bar should be, a place to commune. Overall, incredible. And here we are, finally into the top 10. Got your predictions ready? Here we go, starting with the Gibdo mask. What an excellently creepy mask. Halloween is coming up, and this just puts me in the mood. The mask is nothing more than a bunch of linen wrappings forming a mummy's head. The little double flourish here is a nice touch aesthetically, and donning this mask in Ikana, feels good, but it's also functional as well. The Gibdo mask allows the wearer to speak with other Gibdo. Of course, it's mostly for this wild trading quest and still yields game progression and some sweet items. Perhaps one of the greatest features is being able to not only make the Gibdos docile, but force the Redads to just act plain silly. Awesome. And the story here is also stellar. A man who was examining this area of Ikana had a music box house that ran off a nearby river. When the water flows, the music plays and keeps all the spirits and undead away. But one day, the river stopped, and the undead came back. A little girl, carefully navigating her way alone in this desolate, spirit-infested wasteland, can be snuck past to find a basement with a strange sound that can be heard coming from the cabinet. Inside, her father pops out in this halfway zombie form, and instead of attacking it, you could choose to heal it and obtain this mask. Noteworthy that this is one of the only times we play the Song of Healing to actually heal something back to health. Being able to use this mask to confer with other undead also adds to the world building here and makes this mask worthy of this spot. But it really does just get better from here. Number 9, the Blast Mask. Just look at it. It's a bomb. And I don't mean it's just painted to look like a bomb. I mean, it's just a plain bomb. I love the design and how it doesn't sugarcoat anything. That's a skull. It's dark blue. Bomb. Boom. Great design. Its uses, as one might surmise, are to explode. It's a bomb. Of course, doing so damages Link. The damage can be blocked with your shield though if you lift it up. It's great for blowing stuff up when you don't have any bombs handy, but is slightly weighed down by the fact that it has a cooldown timer of around 15 seconds. So you won't be spamming this one. The story of how Link obtains this mask revolves around the old woman from the bomb shop. Late at night, she waddles through North Clocktown, a dangerous area at night, and gets mugged by Sakon the thief. If we save her and return her goods whole, then she rewards us with this mask. It makes sense that we would get a bomb mask from her of all people. This also intersects with the Anju and Cafe quests, and that by saving her, you cannot proceed with the Anju and Cafe quest, as Sakon will not be present at the late night trade exchange that Cafe is keeping watch for. So for saving her, you get a mask that blows you up. I actually have a theory about this lady and why she'd be walking around in the dangerous part of North Clocktown in the wrong direction, alone, just asking to be mugged at midnight. But that's a whole nother video. If you want to check it out, check out the link I have for more info. I'm watching you, old woman. Moving on to 8th, we have, God, I'm gonna get roasted for this one, I can feel it, the Fierce Deity Mask. Okay, let's get the obvious stuff out of the way. Design, it's a 10. What else do you want me to say? It's literally the coolest mask in our inventory. A rogue deity mask that Link can wear to make him go god mode. I love the white hair, the intimidating eyes, the face paint. It fits the part. And all this is before we even transform. The design of Link here is insane. It's a wild mixed match of colors based in white with the coolest looking sword in perhaps all of Zelda, the double helix blade. It can shoot out beams of magic, which makes it all the cooler. But that's where it ends. And hear me out. We get this mask as the last mask in the game. We have to, in essence, 100% the game to get to the very end, and then we are given this mask, this holy grail of a mask. Now, using it to trivialize the last boss, Majora, who is very hard, is endlessly rewarding, but 2 points. 1, it robs you of a fun fight, which you should try at least once, and 2, you use this mask for a quick 1-minute fight and then never use it again. In fact, you're just done with the game. Now, I know what you're all thinking. You could grab the mask and reset time. And true, you could, but to what end? You can only wear the mask in the other boss arenas that you've already defeated. So, unfortunately, its uses are severely hampered. The lore is also kind of a mixed bag. The game doesn't say much about the origin of the mask, but there is much to speculate on. Eiji Aonuma himself, along with the Gossip Stones, both say that this mask is a collection of all masks and the memories of Termina formed into one. The manga goes further by saying it was a wild deity. We could spend all day on this topic, but maybe I'll cover it one day. But for now, we're moving on. And in number 7, another transformation mask, the Zora mask. It's a great design. Looks accurate. I like the wide forehead and the ears. Solid all around. The transformation does look like Macau, which is cool, and the design of swimming, especially with the magic barrier, looks neat. Zora Link is of course required to beat the game as he can swim underwater, but there's more to it. Dolphin diving is always fun. His fins make for surprisingly effective projectiles as they attack from the rear and sides, and his electrical barrier is great at attacking and stunning enemies, even bosses. The lore is also solid as it surrounds his death and dying words, or song, to his lover Lulu. He went out to try to grab her eggs, which had been stolen by the pirates. Wearing his mask, healing Lulu, getting the band back together for a final performance, it's all super touching. Fantastic. In 6th, we have the ever popular stone mask. Wow. I mean, just look at it. What a design. Should I be creeped out? Should I be afraid? All I know is that I'm captivated. It's also one of the most useful masks in the game. As the heavy mask salesman would say, that's a fine mask. It is filled with an appreciation for things that go unnoticed, which is exactly us, as this mask's primary ability is to make you become plain as stone, so we go by undetected. Most enemies, guards, even people won't notice Link as he passes by without a trace. Of course it doesn't work on bosses, it's otherwise incredible. The story goes that Link finds a guard named Shiro with the lens of truth, who has been sitting and waving his arms for years apparently? Buddy. He is asking for medicine, and if we provide it to him, he gets up and says that he thinks he feels better, and then provides us with this mask. It may imply that Shiro's actually dead, and he was waiting for someone just to acknowledge his spirit. In life, he was plain as stone, and now, so are we. It's time for the top 5. Starting off with something awfully controversial, but it is my list, the Troop Leader mask. I love this mask. It's my guilty pleasure. It's made to resemble the Gorman brothers and does so, but specifically it represents the pain and suffering at loss and misdirection within the family. The mask cries as you walk around, and the tears go higher and further the faster you go. Talk about a waterworks. The mask's uses aren't really apparent, but they do exist. When wearing the mask, it makes interactions with other brothers far more tender and forgiving. It even helps with the defense of Cremia's milk jug delivery. But where this mask really shines is its story. Hidden behind the face is a tale of brotherhood being divided by career choices. One pursued a path towards entertainment, the others stayed on the farm. And while it appears simple on the surface, there is an interconnected web of dark secrets behind this decision, as their family has ties to the mysterious evil past of Ikana. But that's a video for another time. Moving on. Number 4 is the ever-beloved Deku mask. Its dark, brooding design on a cute little package brings this mask home for me. It has a tiny haircut on top that we don't normally see under Link's hat and 2 sad eyes. When transformed, we are turned into a rather unique scrub. We aren't exact copies of these others, which is cool. The look of his abilities and movements are supreme, and flying around in our Deku flower is just iconic. Of course, he is incredibly useful as well and required to beat the game. His abilities to fly in flowers and bounce on water give him unique mobility. Deku also has a snot bubble and a hyper useful spin attack which can stun nearly any enemy, including bosses. His only weakness is fire, but so is Zora's, so he's not alone. The story surrounding this mask is rather heartbreaking the deeper we look. The swamp has been poisoned, and it's up to us not only to free the wrongly imprisoned monkeys, but to save the Deku princess and cure the swamp. At the heart of it all is a butler whose son has gone missing. It's said that we look like his son, and in the end credits, we can see the butler crying over the remains of his child in the linking area between Hyrule and Termina. The mask that we don was taken from this child as he was murdered by Skull Kid. A chilling tale, and rightly so for a mask so highly rated, but not enough to get into the top 3. Only a few left. Taking the third spot is the fan favorite bunny hood. Now, before I go any further, you could make this your number one spot and I wouldn't complain. In fact, I had to think of reasons why it shouldn't be number one because it's so iconic. The mask itself is one of the slimmest designs of them all. The bouncy ears are just delightful. The fact that they speed up Link is both aesthetically pleasing along with functional as well. Though not required to beat this game, the mask provides incredible utility as it makes Link move around 60% faster and in turn allows him to jump further. The lore surrounding this mask is the thing keeping it back. It's fun nonetheless. Having to gather animals around Grog enables you to acquire the bunny hood, which is a mark of kindness towards animals. It also has a link to the postman as he is seen wearing it in Ocarina of Time, and it also appears on his postman's hat. It symbolizes freedom, and in the same way, it can be used to aid in the timing minigame for the postman. So the connection deepens again. A remarkable mask, but only good enough for third. Placing second is the incredibly cool Garo's mask. Again, this might be controversial to some, but hear me out. First off, this mask looks super cool. The glowing eyes surrounded by this deep darkened hood is just plain wicked. And when Link wears it, he seems like he's ready for anything. One of the coolest and darkest designs ever. The uses are rather limited and similar to the Gibdo mask. It can make the undead dance, and it has a unique interaction with its kind. It can speak with other Garo. They lie hidden, and as you pass with the mask, they spring forth thinking that you're their master. Of course, they see through your tricks and pull out a sick looking sword and spawn a fire circle. Sensational. After dispatching them, they reveal to you a secret of this land, which helps tremendously when trying to piece together the lore of this place, because everyone's dead. At the end, they pull out a bomb, for this is the way of the Garo, but not the way of the first place. Can you guess what it is? In first place, Goron mask. Could there really be any doubt? Its design is great. A big old face of rock is just lovable with violet eyes and what appears to be a small peck of hair on top. The design is equally superb as when you turn into the mighty Goron based on Darmani. The beard and arm tattoos are great, and paired with his big belly, he looks like a powerlifter, but don't think that he's slow. His ability to roll and generate spikes makes him one of the fastest and coolest forms to travel. Fantastic. His usefulness cannot be understated. Being more powerful than our basic sword, Goron's punches and booty bumps are glorious. But that's not his only options. His Goron ground pound is great at unsettling foes, and when he begins to roll, watch out, because he's like a raging bull. The lore is also the cherry on the cake. Following the warrior Darmani, who hails from a line of warriors, we find his corpse and heal his spirit to obtain this mask. We rectify his failure by saving the village and stopping the endless winter. It's a touching story that follows a great warrior. Having everyone see us and proclaim that they thought we were dead is bittersweet. As though Darmani lives on this mask, we are not truly him, and he will never come back. Sensational. A truly spectacular mask. And for these reasons, it places number one on my list. But your list is most definitely different than mine. So please let me know your top favorite and least favorite masks in the comments below. And if you want to see how I compiled this list, check out the description for a link in the scoring guide that I used. Thanks for coming in. I'm Brando, and I'll catch you all in the next video, which Halloween is coming.